We did our taxes, right? And what can we do now this year to get in a better place to have a tax-free future? For that, we go to Bill Leavitt for Bridge Life Financial Advisors and for our Financial Friday segment here on WICC. Hey, Bill, how are you?
Good morning, Melissa. I'm doing great. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. And what great timing. We just passed tax day earlier this week. So let's start with tax awareness. How do we understand where we are today?
Well, that deadline just passed, right?
Yeah.
And so here you are sitting with your tax return. Maybe you're looking at your retirement savings. Maybe you're trying to figure out what's my best path forward. And today we want to be talking about how to manage taxes, not just now, but really in the future when you're looking to retire. When you get to that stage, where are you going to be? Are you going to be in a situation where you're going to end up paying a lot of taxes, or are you going to be doing what we consider to be real proactive planning? Now, we want people to kind of shift from being reactive to being proactive. I think when it comes to taxes, they just think they just have to pay what they have to pay.
Yeah, that's so true. So let's break some things down. First of all, how about what do you recommend when it comes to contributions and conversions?
Well, first of all, I think it's super important for everybody to have what we consider to be like strategic focus on where they're putting money. That's number one. So don't just focus on your savings. You want to focus on how you'll withdraw in the future, right? Because that's going to determine how much taxation you're going to have one day when you're retired. And that means understand and build a mix of savings that are in three different areas, because there's three different areas that we look at. One is money I have in things that are going to be taxable to me on an annual basis, kind of like you have some dividends, you may have some interest, or I have a savings somewhere. You want to understand how much money you have in tax deferred. We'll talk about that in a second. And you also want to make sure that you have some tax-free income streams later on, so you have this important balance. It helps you to control your taxes in retirement.
So, you did just kind of mention it. I would love to talk about things like RMDs, and reducing the required minimum distributions, because some people don't even realize how significant that is.
Yeah, that's important. I think that people have a tendency to over-contribute, or they're tax-deferred heavy, and they don't really realize that future risk. They're putting a lot of their money into that IRA or that 401k or that 403b, so they're creating this tax-deferred heavy savings that in the future they don't really understand the full impact. Now, we've had this conversation before that you get to a certain age, you get in your 70s, you have to take forced income out of those kind of accounts. That's forced taxable income. And a lot of people don't realize how much that is and what impact it has, because it increases your gross taxable income and increases taxes on Social Security. And some people, it causes them to pay higher Medicare premiums, and all this is a shock to people. So one has to understand when they're contributing the future impact of how much they're going to be forced to take out and pay tax on, because it's all kind of, you got to pay the piper, right? And that turns into what we call that required minimum distribution. And sometimes it's very shocking to people, and it causes a significant amount of taxation. So we really want people to be trying to strategically either draw down on IRAs over a period of time, or maybe do some Roth converting, right? We've talked about that. Roth converting, basically taking money out of their traditional retirement accounts, paying some tax on it, if it makes sense, and putting it in a Roth, because then you're what? Melissa, you end up with tax-free money, right? And there's a lot of benefits to that. We like tax-free.
Yeah, we do. And, I think it kind of leads to so Bill and I got connected a while back because, honestly, Bill, I talked to a lot of financial advisors, and you were so on board with one of probably the biggest common misconception out there is, let me wait until retirement to actually think about my taxes. And my husband and I were, 30, 31, because we've been working with you for a few years. And we're like, we want to talk about this now. And he's like, great. You should start as young as you can. And you even talk to your own kids about this. So I think it's really important to also understand there are common mistakes that are made, like waiting until retirement or assuming lower taxes later on in life. It's not always true. So I want to make sure that people know that they could be connecting with you and your team. And not just letting this kind of the tax return be the end of the conversation and we'll just talk about this next year. What can people do today if they want to talk to you?
Well, one of the things I think is important is those common mistakes I think people make in assuming things, right? Waiting until retirement to think about taxes, assuming they're going to be in a lower tax bracket sometime in the future, and again, over-contributing to those pre-tax accounts. They should be taking a look at that, and if you're not sure what to do, you need to seek out some help. We have lots of resources. You can go to our website at bridgelightadvisors.com on this topic. You can download some of our free resources, read about it. You can connect with us. We can talk and give some help.
Yeah, don't just sit on the tax returns and then we'll talk about this next year or later down the road. Have that conversation today. And Bill Leavitt, always appreciate you and your entire team at Bridge Light Advisors. Thank you so much. And we will talk again soon.
You're welcome, Melissa. Have a good day. My pleasure.
You too. Bridge Light Financial Advisors, and their website again is bridgelightadvisors.com for more information.